without collecting umphefumulo wabo lowa muntu is at risk of ukubhoga. Yikho nje some places and some homes kunespoki because umuntu drew their last breath in that home and their family didn't come collect their spirit. So when it comes to the practices around death, the most important thing that there's 4 or 5 things that we need to look at, right? How someone passes away, where they pass away, in other words, where they draw their last breath, where they are going to be buried, and who is going to be responsible for that burial process in terms of isbong. So when you find out someone has passed away, the first thing that we do is we inform all the family and then everybody gathers at the homestead. Now, of course, those that can't get time away from work, that's okay, we completely understand. But going out and partying, umsindo ekhaya as well, nengxabano, right? Those are an absolute no-no.
Yep.
And the reason why we have those policies and those principles in place is for us to psychologically come to terms with the passing of the individual. Yabo? So once we've determined that this person's passed away, we need to look at where they've passed away. If it is away from the homestead, silanda isihlahla called umlahlankosi, and we go and collect umphefumulo wabo. Without collecting umphefumulo wabo, lowa muntu is at risk of ukubhoga. Yikho nje some places and some homes kunespoki because umuntu drew their last breath in that home and their family didn't come collect their spirit. And then they take it back home.
Yeah.
And then we begin to prepare for the funeral.
So if that process, your landa umphefumulo womuntu doesn't happen, and then, you know, probably someone in the family realizes there is that aspect that we omitted. What then needs to be done in that instance?
Okay. What you do is this. Hambani uyomthola umlahlankosi. If not, then I can help you get it and probably courier it to you. Hambani, if once utholile umlahlankosi, go to the area or the place that they drew their last breath. Maybe you drew it here in this chair, but they don't really know exactly where it was. So they can come to this room or this building, right? Bazoshisa impepho babiza abantu abadala bakhulume nawe bathi woza sambeke manje sesiyakulanda siyaxolisa ukuthi we didn't do it before. Then they'll take umlahlankosi and they'll go home with it. Bawubeke emsamo. Umlahlankosi does not go in the ground with the individual. You leave it emsamo. Then emsamo bazonquma imbuzi, okay? Right? Bonke bazogeza because they didn't do that process before.
That makes sense. And then it says Pile emadolobheni where there's cemeteries that are designated for the burials, but also there's the ancestral land.
Yeah.
What are the benefits of burying someone at home, for an example?
The beautiful thing about burying someone with an ancestral land is, number one, awuxabani nabanye abantu. You don't have to do omunye phezu komunye.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, the beautiful thing about having your own ancestral land is you don't have to pay to reserve your spot. So now how it works with cemeteries, of my understanding, is that you literally have to pay a fee every month or every year to reserve that particular spot.
Yeah.
Any kind of rituals, name, final that you need to do, you can do it. And the third and final one is security, right?
Yeah.
You know for a fact that the people that own, only the people that have access to lelo tuna abasekai, and the people that come onto the homestead.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're at a cemetery, anybody has access to it. And sikhumbula ukuthi ithuna lomuntu umunye umsamo because ungaphahlela khona as well. Abantu bagagangela khona as well. Abantu sometimes bathatha inhlabathi of where you are buried baganga ngalo as well.
Let's move on now and speak about some of the mistakes that are usually done in that process.
Okay, let's talk about the first one. Number one, umuntu oshonelwe ngengozi, right? Traumatic accident. Akangenwe ekhaya ngaphandle kusageza. You need to take imbuzi, nihlaba, igazi nyongomswane, you cleanse the person, their physical body, and then you throw away that animal. You can't bring it in, so you can't eat it. Then the person can enter the home for the funeral procession. Number two, which is a big one, le ndaba ye-cremation. Oh madoda, angazi ukuthi sikuthatha buthi umuntu uyashisa. NgesiZulu we say, yes, some people refer to it only when it comes to royalty, but NgesiZulu we say umuntu, you don't bury them. Umuntu uyatshala. We plant umuntu because umuntu is a seed to complete the circle of life, right? And it's when you're born, your belly button goes into the ground.
Yes.
So your first and last piece of flesh of life must come together in the soil. So mawumshisa umuntu, you don't complete the circle of life. And lo muntu bayamvimba on the other side.
Morning show. Mna benifuna ukubuza kuBhutsiya uba umuntu xa ebhubhile esibhedlele because most of the people umphefumulo wabo uphumela esibhedlele. So uye wenze njani na? Kulaa nto esithi umuntu uye alande umphefumulo wakhe otherwise uzowuporha.
Okay, no, it's the same process of, like I was explaining, abathatha umlahla nkosi, if they don't want, if the hospital's feeling some type of way about uKhristu Mpepho, then that's perfectly fine and they can use 2 white candles instead. Bakhanyisa amakhandlela, bacela odokotela bathi yazini, sicela nje 10 minutes khona solanda imimoya yomuntu wethu, and that's all, that's it. But they're not going to burn impepho, they can just use 2 white candles, bakhuluma nabantu abadala, bambiza umfowabo kanye udadewabo, and tell them ukuthi they're going home.